Tonight on the Invention Laboratory, we will hear a talk from Ann Makosinski, a grade 12 inventor out of Victoria, Canada. Yes, you heard that right, grade 12. She'll share her invention journey and touch on what she considers the problem with inventions. We'll also look at the definition of success and why it's paramount to your invention journey.
People looking for fast scores. You know how many people here spent $800 on a course because it was going to happen fast?
Hey, it's Pat here, and in this video I want to share with you 10 lessons I've learned since inventing a physical product.
We're going to talk about perceived ownership. Steve, this is something that we talk about a lot. People that are kind of new to the game, they don't know what the heck we're talking about.
This means starting small without the risk of a big financial investment, but at the same time being ready to scale up big if the opportunity presents itself.
One of the things that really hurt Apple was after I left, John Sculley got a very serious disease. And that disease, I've seen other people get it too. It's the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work.
Obsession is the thing that makes heroes.
You know, I've been a creative professional for 15 years now, but I'm no professional packaging designer.
Most people only pay attention to the final product of a successful entrepreneur. They say things like, I can never be like them.
And the problem with that is that there's just a tremendous amount of craftsmanship in between a great idea and a great product.
The Invention Laboratory is a show that takes a deep dive into product development, inventions, and entrepreneurship. After spending over a decade in the industry, it's time to pass on that knowledge to anyone who's ever dreamed of bringing a product to life.
Hello everyone, my name is Ann, and I'm 17 years old. So some of you may have heard of me as the inventor of the hollow flashlight, which, as he said, is a flashlight that runs off the heat of the human hand. Well, otherwise, I'm a pretty normal high school student. I'm in grade 12, and I've actually lived in Victoria for all my life, so it's very exciting to be here today. So here's a snapshot of me when I was around 7 years old with one of my first inventions, which were usually pieces of garbage I had just rummaged from around the house and glued together with my hot glue gun, and then proceeded to give lengthy lectures about them to my parents and anyone else who's pretending to listen. Today, however, I have a shorter amount of time and a scary clock that is counting down in front of me, so I will try to keep it short and talk about one aspect of inventions, which I would call the problem with inventions. It's funny being called an inventor because we all have those moments, those aha moments, where we come up with a new idea, and we're like, why hasn't anyone made that? That is such a good idea. I should make it and make $1 million off of it. So, hands up here. Who's had that idea? Who's had that amazing idea? All your hands should be going up, I hope. Okay? So, now, who here, hands up or hands down, has actually followed up on their idea and made it into an actual invention or app or company, whatever you were thinking of? You got a patent for it, you got funding, you got it manufactured, and now you're successfully selling it all over the world on the internet or in stores. Well, I see, of course, you have a very respectable and accomplished audience, but there's significantly less hands. The fact is that without a dire need for this invention, the majority of us just can't be bothered, and we're going to let someone else do it. The problem with most inventions is that they look so simple, but simple does not equal easy, and this is one of my earliest versions of my flashlight, and you can see it looks like anyone could have just slapped it together with a plastic pipe, Peltier tiles, and an LED. However, I think of my flashlight as an idea born years ago. I started playing with electronic parts when I was around 5 years old, And then I was soldering by 7. Of course, I'm not an expert in anything. And I was playing with Peltier tiles, piezoelectric discs, and solar cells by 10. So when a friend of mine in the Philippines who I was talking with told me that she didn't have any electricity at home, so she couldn't see her notes to study with at night, I thought, oh, maybe I have some sort of solution for her. One with piezoelectricity, which harnessed the kinetic energy of humans, and one with thermal electricity. My idea, however, was just the start. I now needed to learn manual skills, using the lathe and using machines in the machine shop and winding tiny transformers, working with very small electronic parts under a microscope. None of these were very simple to learn, but using people skills, we all have people skills, I hope, I was able to reach out to people and get them to teach me. After about 3 months or so of bench work and learning basic electronics, I did produce a working flashlight, which I actually first presented at our local science fair, which is the Vancouver Island Regional Science Fair, and at other numerous science fairs after that. So, after the science fairs, what next? Everyone was saying, oh, you just get a patent, you can protect your design, just go buy a patent, it'll be fine. So, yeah, that thought did strike me, but then I looked up the facts. Last year, there are over 500,000 utility patents filed in the US alone. About half those actually became patents, and 97% of those didn't even make any money for anyone, except for the patent lawyers who had written the patents. So for anyone who's actually been in the patenting process, it can be quite daunting at first, and it especially was for me. I was 16, I had no knowledge whatsoever of any type of entrepreneurship, so of course I referred to my parents who also knew nothing, so it can be quite scary at first. Then came the next chapter of my simple invention, which was manufacturers coming to me, this little kid that looked like Harry Potter, and asking for samples of my flashlight, and they were sending agreements for me to let them manufacture it, and non-disclosure, secret things, blah, blah, blah. And many times, I just wanted to take my project and give it to someone else and walk away and get on with my schoolwork and my teenager life, which was suffering accordingly. So the flashlight, of course, got a lot of publicity, and I did a lot of appearances and talks. But most importantly was all the emails and feedback I got, especially on my YouTube video, from youth my age who were inspired to create a difference and do something because of what I had done, which was amazing. So, looking back, I feel like a parent, and the flashlight is my baby. Today, the baby is still a toddler. There are technological issues on it that we have to work on before it'll be competitive brightness-wise with other flashlights on the market. But fortunately, I did find a partner, one in Canada, a distribution company, that will hopefully get my flashlights into the market in the near future. And then I can be a proud parent and look at my baby on the shelves. It's very nice. Yes. So, I have new ideas, of course, as I'm sure we all do, but I am in grade 12, so I am limited on time. And so before I fully launch myself into any idea, I think of a few questions first. 1, is the problem worth finding a solution to? 2, do I have the time to focus on this particular solution? 3, is it practical? Can it be made so that the benefits offset the production costs, for example? 4, is the solution good for many people, or will it just be for the convenience of a few benefited people? I can't speak, sorry. 5, can I afford the patent, which is quite an important question to ask. You might have sensed some trepidation in my short speech, but nothing could be further from the truth. If you have an idea that you want to launch, go ahead. That's great. Just make sure you keep focus on a solution for a very clear, precise need. The birth is the easy part, But as many parents, especially mine, will agree, the bringing up the baby is quite expensive and time-consuming. Every idea, every invention is an opportunity to embark on a journey. It's not a free ride, nor is it the most pleasant journey at times, and it's often slow, as we have to learn and grasp new concepts and skills. But it's a trip like no other. Even if your invention never makes the shelves, if you've influenced the thinking of others in the right direction, then it was worth your effort. It's a force that drives me today and lets me look at the problem of inventions not as obstacles, but as welcome challenges that I can overcome and learn from. It's exciting to create something that's good and something that could solve problems and benefit other people's lives. You have the power to steer your ship into a great future. And that means something. That makes for a better life. And it's the type of future I would love to live in. Thank you.
Ann is a courageous and creative young woman and should be commended for her knowledge and experience so early in this process. She spoke about her process and the questions that she asks every single time she thinks of a new concept. Those questions highlight which portions of the process are important to her and also how she gauges her success. She believes invention should solve problems. She knows how important time is and its value on her life. Her inventions need to be practical. That isn't true for everyone. There's an entire industry that's dedicated to novelty products, but because her definition of success includes how many people she can help, practicality is key. Also, being realistic about the costs involved in something like this is a factor that most people never even bother to consider. It's important to Ann because patents hold value, and they also hold status, and that's part of her definition of success. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that believe this following statement: if my idea is good enough, people will just pay me for it. Your definition of success is going to be different from your friends, your family, co-workers, and even the team that'll eventually help you bring this idea to life. Clearly defining your goals and success benchmarks will keep you going on the days that you feel like you're standing still. They'll be even more beneficial on the days that you struggle to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, as a reminder, fame, money, and working for yourself are just byproducts of success. They're not the goal. Think about young Ann and her journey. Her passion stemmed from helping a friend in the Philippines. As she grew in age and intellect, her focus remained on her definition of success: helping others, learning, becoming a patent holder, creating multiple inventions, and also enjoying the ride. You need to set your goals at attainable levels, so every time you achieve one, you'll have the motivation to keep going. I wanted to go over a few benchmarks that a former client had given me. It was an exercise that I had gone over with them, and I was looking for their feedback. Now, these benchmarks, there's 10 of them here. I am going to go over them with you, but I want you to pick the benchmarks that are going to be important to you. Everyone's are going to be different. Number 1, validation. She needed someone to tell her that she wasn't crazy for pursuing an idea. Number 2, she wanted to develop an invention team and surround herself with positive and supportive people. There's enough negativity in the world, and when you're pursuing an invention, that's really the last thing you need. Third is she needed to get it on paper. Every time she tried to explain it to a friend or a family member, her words would get jumbled and she felt inadequate. She wanted to make sure that when she was explaining this to anyone who was curious about her endeavor, that it was clear, concise, and that it made sense, not only to her, but the person she was explaining it to. Number 4, research. She wanted to find out if anybody had thought about anything like this in the past. She wanted to do a couple of Google searches, look out into the market, and maybe take a step into a mall or a big box store like Walmart or Target and see if she could find anything that was even close to what she was suggesting. To this point, she hadn't found anything, but she really wanted to look hard. Another thing that was important to her was to sketch it out. Now, everybody's not going to be a great artist, and nobody should be expected to be, but it was important to her to actually see it come to life, even in a crude form, as something that she could make. So she wanted to sketch it out. The sixth thing that was important to her, which was interesting to me, is do I still believe in the project? At that stage, knowing everything that you do at that point, is it still worth pursuing? We actually saw this in Ann's presentation. Now, this is important because it's a make or break point in her definition of success. If she didn't still believe in it, you had to start over. If she did still believe in it, you really had to dive in. And diving in for her meant seeking out professional help with her project. The eighth thing that was important to her was to learn from the pros. She wanted to compare all of the research that she had done to the results that we brought back. Number 9, getting a patent. She wanted to be a patent holder in the worst way. It was more important, even to her, even to seeing on a store shelf. She wanted to be a patent holder because that represented status. And number 10 was to evaluate her definition of success. Are all of those things still important? 1 through 9, were they all still important? I'd be lying if I said this list stayed exactly the same. The client changed this list 11 times prior to her presentation of her product to a company. And that's perfectly fine. Your definition of success is everything, and it's all that should matter to you. From your light bulb moment to picking the product up off a store shelf or tossing it in to an electronic shopping cart. In my opinion, the real problem with Inventions is your definition of success. If you spend every waking moment worrying about money, you'll never be able to focus on your project and all the people you can help. Remember, the choices we make dictate the life we lead. If you're following us on Facebook or YouTube, comment below if you can tell us what movie that's from. We'll see you next time.